Okay, so the covenants, individual covenants are different types. There's always going to be two parties to a covenant. One of them is a kafir, one of them is a Muslim. So if I as a Muslim have a covenant with an individual kafir, okay, so both of us as individuals, that covenant is going to be one of two. Either the kafir has the upper hand and is a stronger party, and he is offering protection to me as an individual, or I as a Muslim have the upper hand and I'm the stronger party, offering my protection to the individual kafir. In this situation, if the kafir offers me protection as an individual, that is not binding upon any Muslim who is at war with him or fights him or attacks him. Okay? Because that protection is for me, he's offering it to me. I cannot betray that covenant, because that is what the understanding that I've given him, that I will not betray him because he's protecting me. Like when Mut'ab ibn Adi, he offered protection to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and gave him that protection as a bodyguard on his way back from Ta'if to Mecca. Similarly, Ibn Daghunna for Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, Walid ibn Mughira for Uthman bin Mad'un, and others as well. On the other hand, if a Muslim is a stronger party and gives the security, offers the protection to a kafir, it is not allowed for Muslims to betray that covenant, because the Muslims are one ummah, and if one of them offers protection, the others will abide by it. The evidence for this is the hadith of Hani radiallahu anha, who was a woman, a Sahabiya, the sister of Ali ibn Abi Talib, who she offered the protection, although this was in Dar al-Islam, offered the protection to a kafir from Quraysh in Mecca, and Ali ibn Abi Talib wanted to kill him. And she went to complain to the Prophet ﷺ, and he said to her that we will protect the one that you protect. And he said that the ummah, that even the least among us can represent all of us in terms of giving a covenant and protection. And this is what is in general. It says, يَحْزَبُ ذِمَّتُهُمْ أَدْنَاهُمْ. It's sufficient. The least of them, the smallest of them, individual, any one of them, can represent them and give the dhimma, the covenant of security. So if, even if by mistake somebody wants to come into Dar al-Islam offering protection to a kafir, now the Khalifa, if he comes across that person under the covenant, he has a choice. Either can accept it and allow him to enter, or he can reject it, and so then he escorts the person back to Dar al-Kufr and lets him go back to there safely, because he was allowed to enter under the protection of a Muslim. And so if he wants to throw that back to the kafir, he needs to return him back to a secure place, where he's no longer going to be harmed. And one of the evidence for that in Surah Tawbah, when Allah Ta'ala he says about if an individual from the mushrikeen seeks your protection, it's وَإِنْ أَحَدٌ مِّنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ اسْتَجَارَكَ فَأَجِرْهُ حَتَّى يَسْمَعَ كَلَامَ اللَّهِ ثُمَّ أَبْلِغْهُ مَأْمَنَهُ. He said, if an individual from the mushrikeen seeks your protection, give him protection, and so that he can hear the word of Allah, and then return him to a place of security. Okay, so he needs to go back to original circumstances, where he's back to a secure place, where you can go back to the original rules, where you're at war and they're at war, and everybody knows where they are. Even there was a case during the Hudaybiyah treaty, when the Prophet ﷺ was waiting, obviously camping outside Mecca, in order to go, and some of the mushrikeen, they came out in order to attack and betray and to harm the Muslims. And they were captured. They came out fighters with weapons, and they were captured by the Sahaba, and they were not able to fulfill this mission. When they were brought in front of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the first question he asked them, did you come here under the protection of any Muslim, under the covenant of any Muslim? Even though this was in Dar al-Kufr, outside of Dar al-Islam. He asked the people, did you come here under the covenant of anybody, of any Muslim? Okay, because he's not allowed to betray the covenant if Muslims have given that kind of protection. So the question that matters is the kafir the one giving the security to an individual Muslim, like the Muslims went to Najashi, who gave them security and asylum? Or is it the Muslim who is the bodyguard or the protector and offering security to a kafir to bring him in so that he can hear the word of Allah? If it is the latter, then the Muslims must abide by it.